Welcome back to Derailed. I'm your host, JJ Lahey, here with my good friend, Jake Schyvinck. Jake, thank you for joining me. Appreciate everybody for hopping in the chat already. We got, a lot of people waiting for us to go live. It's exciting. Thank you for being here. We got a lot to talk about. Jake, how much fun did you have watching Packers Bears?
Very, very little. I'll be honest. Very little. Yeah, that was not fun at all. It was it was just kind of a letdown at the end of the season. I felt like going in, even though I was sitting on lots of Dallas +7 stuff, on Sunday felt like it might just all be for naught anyway, even if they beat Chicago. And
Sure.
I think like the part of me that has optimism sometimes when I'm doing stuff is kind of like, well, if they're going to break the streak, why not make it a meaningless game, I guess. That works for me. If they're, they don't just want to win that one and not win any big games against Green Bay over the next decade, works for me.
Silver lining.
But yeah, it was a definitely obviously a disappointing last 2 weeks leading into the postseason, which I'm sure we're going to be talking heavily about tonight. But yeah, it was and then as Prince Capsaicin brings up, like when Watson goes down and you can just, it's non-contact, you're sitting there going, you got to be kidding me. This is what's going to happen now.
Yeah.
And
and of course, finding out now that he's not even going to be ready to start the next season, ACL tear and all that.
yeah,
Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Praying for Christian Watson and praying for the Packers. Jake, I'm going to toss an idea out to you.
Yeah.
Because, it's time to make a miracle happen here. Davante Adams in Green Bay. Who says no?
like for the stretch run or for next year?
No, for
Just for
the
these
Eagles
next
game.
for the next month.
Just for the Eagles game, yeah. Would you do
Not
it?
mad at that at all. No,
Okay. All right.
not mad at it. Woody Johnson, you can market the Jets by letting Davante play in the postseason, which you can't make. So, it'd be great.
Okay, I did think about this. I thought about, if the Jets were going to make a trade with somebody here, they have to have felt that the negotiations with Green Bay for Rodgers were fair and that they were treated well.
Yeah.
And, maybe they're feeling the tiniest bit bad about the whole, we didn't get our first round pick last year thing. I don't know. Not saying that's a reason to ever make a football decision.
No.
But also, I don't think that Woody
But it's
Johnson
the
ever has
Jets.
good reasons for making football decisions.
Exactly.
I did want to
Jets.
highlight this comment here from Easton Butler. It says, JJ. Easton
Butler in the chat, the one and only.
Yeah,
There's a lot of report breaking and stuff like that. Packers meet
if
with
you guys
this
are not
prospect.
following Easton Butler,
Seriously.
please do. He has taken over the mantle of all the Packers updates, Packers news updates. I used to do that for a while, for a few years, and it's a lot of work. It's a very thankless job. So, Easton, I appreciate you. So, Jake,
Yes.
bright spots that you saw from the Green Bay offense over the last 2 weeks. Bright spots that give you encouragement moving forward.
Let's think about this. Positives on offense from the last 2 weeks. The Minnesota Vikings second half, I think is about as short and sweet. Like I think, I don't know. Josh Jacobs has been Josh Jacobs all year, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That has been a thing, right? Zach Tom has
And if
been Zach
this were
Tom all
college,
year.
I'd be excited.
Yeah.
I'm just like in the NFL, heading into the NFL playoffs. I'm not going to get super excited about, hey, our bright spot is a running back. It's not college ball, man.
Yeah, even with, I think, what's kind of been the start of a cyclical shift of kind of like, all right, yeah, you're playing too high, we'll run, we'll make you get in your run fits, we'll do all this
Right.
stuff. Like that cyclical nature is awesome. But the Packers have been at their best offensively. Yes, running, but also building around it explosive plays. That's why you see, Jordan Love and built around explosive plays, by the way, that are open. Not just like, oh, it's not every play is like the one that Love threw into triple coverage against the Rams to Jaden Reed, right? That's not really necessarily what I mean. Like it's like they are generating explosive plays in the passing game where guys are wide open, and that kind of and seeing that a lot kind of confirms what the numbers are talking about with Jordan Love when you look at like his EPA CPOE composite, where it's kind of like, okay, completion percentage over or completion over expectation, right? Like, yeah, it's not bad, but the EPA per play stuff is big time for him because they're generating big plays that are
Sure.
dramatically altering right their expected points on any given play or drive. And so when you kind of take that away, at least a big part of it away, it's hard. It's not going to be easy. Missing Watson has hurt them. Watson can't do everything, but that's why they built the receiver room by committee like they did. Is like, all right, we got this big fast dude who we can, create a lot of big plays with down the field. Mind you, he's the only one that's been consistently catching the football all year, which also kind of hurts.
Yeah.
But you've built the room with a bunch of styles, and it just hurts to have such an important one based on how Green Bay has operated, especially over the last, you could say, year and a half, if you want to kind of throw that kind of like youngest team getting whatever it is out of their system, finding something that first half of 2023. So yeah, it's an uphill battle. It's no sugarcoating it. Philly is not unfortunately Philly is not the week one Philly team, which we'll get into. But when you lose Watson like that in a game that essentially kind of we talked about felt a little bit meaningless, it just adds to it. And on top of it being in January of all things, rather than like a September, where it now puts 2025 in jeopardy as a whole for him. You hope not, but the reality is you never know with ACL tears. Everybody's different. Adrian Peterson came back in 9 months and won MVP. That's nuts. It's just it
Yeah.
isn't going to be the same for everybody. So yeah, the one positive that I'm taking in, and hopefully the team and LaFleur are doing the same things. I'm saying, like, listen, everybody, this is like Dallas last year. Nobody's picking them. I've heard blowout. I've heard how is it only 4.5. I've heard, this is the game that I would put most of my money on, right? Of all the 6 of them, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, there's no reason to come out feeling tight. There's no reason to come out, and kind of do what the Packers have done against good teams in the first half of games. There shouldn't be any of that. There should be let's let it rip, play loose, play like you can play, and see what happens. Like there shouldn't be, a kind and obviously history has told us and the record has told us and all the games have told us what the Packers are through 17 games, but we've seen them flip a switch. It could happen, but they have to play loose. They have to. If they come out tight like they've done the last couple against the Lions and the Vikings, it's going to look like the Lions and Vikings games. It just is. And it's going to be like, well, we lost by a little. It's like, yeah, but you were down 21-3, in the second quarter.
Right.
So it's going to be hard for that. It's going to be hard to expect anything to change. But, if they have the right, if they have an adjusted mindset, you never know.
I think I probably will pick the Packers to beat the Eagles. I think the Packers have, I mean, obviously they sucked badly the past two
Yeah,
weeks, and I'm
right.
frustrated, very frustrated about the fact that they went 0-5 against the top 3 teams in the conference.
Yeah.
and went 1-5 in the division. Should have gone 0-6 in the division.
Yeah.
I think just hearing how LaFleur was talking about the way the guys in the locker room responded to the loss, I think they are going to come out swinging, and I think they're going to really give Philly the business. Um, Plus
That'll
the
be
fact
great.
that Jalen Hurts is not at 100%. Jalen Hurts may not be able to play. I think he probably will play, but it's
Sure.
certainly
Yeah, I agree.
questionable.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Packers over the Eagles, and I
Okay.
think that'll be their only playoff win this year. Kind of no matter how they look against the Eagles. And
Yeah.
I'm basing that off of two things. One, I think the loss of Christian Watson does hurt them, and I don't know that they have the guys to overcome that based on the way the rest of the wide receivers have been playing for the
Yeah.
second half of the year.
Yeah,
They've
that's
all
the
been
problem.
awful except for Dobbs and Watson.
Yeah.
So, hopefully Dobbs comes back and Wicks and Reed step up. Um, but the other factor here is I have not seen from this Packers team the ability to get up, to stay motivated, to stay needing to prove themselves.
Yeah.
I just to me that's a culture thing. It's something they're gonna have to really explore this off season and figure out. And come back better prepared next year. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. And
Yeah.
some people are gonna be upset that I'm saying that, and oh, you're a fake fan. You need to believe in your Packers at all times, dude. I'm just reacting to what they have put on the field. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in fan how you want to fan. Don't police other people's reactions. It annoys me to see on social media after a loss that you see kind of two different types of reactions. You'll see like, hey, you know what? Green and gold till I'm dead and cold. I still love my team, and you see people attacking that. I'm like, man, you're a sunshine pumper. You need to, be a realist. And then you see the other people who are doom and gloom, like, man, I can't believe we lost to a rival. Like, this really sucks. And somebody comes in, oh, you're a fake fan. You're turning on the team. Like, dude, shut it.
Yeah.
Quit lecturing other people about how to react to a loss. All right. Give people until at least until Monday, but give them till like Wednesday to go through whatever process
Yeah.
they need to go through. Especially if it's a rival game or a playoff game. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It matters so much to some people, including me. If it doesn't matter to you, I'm happy for you, all right? I think I'm happy for you that you can be healthy mentally enough to compartmentalize and just enjoy football for football's sake and not care about wins and losses. Good for you. Envy you a little bit, but you got to have
Certainly.
some emotional intelligence and some empathy for people who are really wrapped up in it, or just remove yourself from the sphere of talking about sports because those people are always going to be that way, and you have to be able to understand that, or just give them the space that they need.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's nice, honestly, kind of if you have the right attitude to kind of look at both on social media and be like, "Yep, I understand why you're frustrated here, and I understand why you're an optimist here." Like it's fun to see sometimes, the Nagler tweets like today's one that the Packers are the second youngest team to make the playoffs in the last 45 seasons behind last year's Packers, right? That's really cool. Love that Nagler is
Yep.
sharing that stuff. That's
Yep.
awesome. And just kind of be like, okay, yeah, that's sick. They've the youngest two teams in the last 45 years to make the postseason. Like they're doing that. That's awesome. Also, it's totally understandable to be like, yeah, their record is what they say that what it says it is at this point. Like the old Parcells thing. Like at this point, there's a reason that they're the 7 seed coming in here, right? And you're watching two teams in your division dueling it out on Sunday night for the 1 seed for the division. You saw a team clinch the 2 seed, and that you played week 1 that just found it and clicked basically from week 5 on. other than when they lost Hurts, essentially. And even that was a close game that they honestly should have won because Devonta Smith dropped the ball on third down, right? So,
Sure.
like, it's tough. But it is unfortunate reality. They are looking up at a lot of teams right now. And yes, it also stinks that they won 2 more games than last year and are still the 7th seed. That is unfortunate as well.
Yeah.
That is that, this is there were 10 teams with like 10, 11 losses this year or more. That just doesn't happen. Very, very polarizing, very, just a lacking of parity this year for a lot. There's not a lot of like middle ground teams. So, it was unfortunate, but the hindsight is just kind of like, yeah, you just kind of had to step up because there are a lot of really good teams playing good ball this year, and you just happen to not quite be on that tier. What's great is that the window is young, and the window, will stay open as long as they, Goody continues to, acquire talent and add it to the roster, and you have the right group of guys in the locker room. Do I think they need to add more alphas? Yeah, I do. I do. I think that, or some of these young guys are going to have to step up and be that. That is going to have to happen because I don't think, I don't know if Green Bay has your Hutch, your Penei Sewell, right? As much as, Packer fans hate him, your Branson, your Joseph necessarily, right? Like Green Bay has good players on the back end. That's not saying they don't have good players like the Lions do on the back end, but there's something the Lions are bringing a little bit extra that you go, okay, well, it'd be nice to bring that. Montgomery, goodness sakes. Nobody wants to tackle him. And that's fair. To have a Ragnow who's, pretty much the quarterback of the offensive line, just going out there, run people over with the mentality. Like, Campbell set the mentality, and they found the players for it. Green Bay's got a great talent, but they have to have those 4 or 5 guys that just really can, like, and again, McKinney and Jacobs have done a phenomenal job as free agents. I would like others to step up and be like, this is, we're not backing down from any of this. No, we're setting the tone, not you. Have a few more of those players on their team because I do think that will go a long way to keeping the contending window open for a long time. So it's going to be, whatever happens on Sunday, cool if they win. They're going to Detroit. They're in the divisional round again with the second youngest team in 45 years to make it that far. But it is kind of, a good look this year. I think you can take steps forward, but there are still steps you have to take as a team to get to where you want to go. And not that again, winning 11 games, awesome. They took a step forward. But again, we know what the ultimate goal is. We know what Titletown's ultimate goal is, right? And I think it's fair to say that. So, and you're not going to win them all, right? Green Bay had plenty of teams in the last decade that could have and didn't. So there's going to be something that just, there's a switch that has to flip, whether it's a player or two or, coming in or a player or two stepping up. That's what we're going to have to see from this team at some point, I think, if they want to make this happen.
Jake, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Too old for this, put a comment in the chat here, and I'm going to translate it.
This is good.
Inside of Green Bay, there are 2 Syracuses.
Yep. It's accurate.
Here's one thing that I noticed with this Bears game was that we played I don't even know, like, what word do I even want to use here? We played the same way against the Bears that we played against the Eagles, the Lions, the Vikings, the Lions, the Vikings, which is crap first half, kind of come back a bit in the second half.
Yeah.
And hurt ourselves like every third play massively.
Yeah.
Unforced by the other team. The difference is that the Bears are so freaking terrible that it took 4 quarters
of
for
mistakes
them to capitalize on our mistakes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You played that game against the Vikings. It's not a close game. Play that game against the Lions.
You know what? I think we can prove your theory correct by rewinding the clock 1 week.
Yeah. The first half is what it looked like. That's what it would have looked like that the whole game. And again, it was just it is kind of strange that just continuing to beat themselves and still being in games against the top teams tells you that it's just kind of like it's a few things here and there. Not necessarily from like, oh, he made this mistake, but it's just kind of like, okay, like who are you going to be as a team that grows and matures together over the next several years? Who are you going to be, right?
Are you going to be Syracuse or are you going to be Notre Dame?
Yeah, like that is what it is. Are you going to kind of, unfortunately, emulate your kind of highly volatile quarterback in a lot of ways? Or, is there going to be a soundness and a mentality and a tenacity to how you play that can continue to elevate? Because the talent got you here. Everybody's talented. Everybody's talented. What kind of team are you, though? What kind of team are you? What kind of team are you going to be? What steps are you taking to become that team? Because unfortunately, Detroit's got it. They could have so many excuses for this year if they wanted to. With all the injuries. And they said no thank you. We're going to just find ways. We're going to get this done. We're not going to sit around feeling sorry for ourselves. We're going to get it done. And they have. They could have. Minnesota was the healthier team by far going into that game Sunday. And Detroit said, no, we're taking this one. Don't care. We're taking it.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of team they are. That's the kind of team Philly can be. It's the kind of team Minnesota can be. Chiefs have already proven themselves. We already know that. What are you going to do?
And you've spent a lot of time talking about the Lions and the Vikings tonight, and for good reason. And I think something I want to highlight as a reason why I think it is okay to be frustrated with the Packers right now for playing down. Because we know what they can be. The question is not how talented are you.
No.
I think that you could ask a very similar sounding question of the type of guys that we have in the locker room and say, like, hey, do we have those guys, like, skill aside, do you have those guys who have that dog mentality, who are leaders, who are going to go out and just insist on beating the tar out of you because they just want to win more? But the talent is not the question. And we've seen how lethal they can be. And we've seen them sustain that for many games in a row, too. So that it really is not fluky. But they have not won the division since 2021. And this year, like, hey, congrats on winning 11 games. You came third in the division. And you came third in the division because you went 0-4 against the two teams ahead of you. If you hadn't done that, you would not be third in the division. I have seen some other podcasters who are frustrated with people complaining about, like, only beating bad teams or something. And I'm not super interested in either side of that argument. The question to me is more, how did you perform in the games that in the moment you knew we need to win this game? Yeah. De facto playoff games. Yeah. What do they call those? Matchup games? Matchup games, right?
I think.
That's what they call them?
It'll come to me. We'll go with that. That might be right.
Especially the second game against the Lions and the second game against the Vikings. Like, you knew everybody went into those two games saying, we have to win this game. Winning this game will tell us X. Losing this game will put us in this spot, whatever.
Yep.
Those are the games that we knew we needed to win. And we didn't just kind of get narrowly beaten, even though that's what the scoreboard looks like, even though that's how the last couple minutes of the game worked. It was, we crapped the bed for 3 quarters and then managed to make it look close at the end. And you can argue semantics and say, well, it was close. If they'd made one more play, they would have won. Okay, did you enjoy watching them crap their pants for 3 quarters and hurt themselves play after play after play, commit all these penalties, commit all these turnovers, drop a million passes, fumble, take sacks, throw interceptions? They just took their turn, and hey, the defense was pretty doggone good for pretty much the whole year. Not a lot of complaints from me about the defense.
No.
Complaints that I would make are kind of nitpicky, all right? So I'm not going to do that. I have the offense square in my sights because I have no expectations of special teams, okay? They're going to bring back Matt Orzech next year, all right? They're going to give him a year 3, even though he's literally the worst long snapper in the NFL and has been for 2 straight years, all right? They're going to bring him back because that's how we roll on special teams. All right? It's the special needs teams. I have no expectations of them. You can be 32nd best special teams unit in the league. That's fine. Just don't have people talking about the 2009 Chargers or Mo Drayton when they are talking about what a wide gap there is between you and the 31st team. All right? Yeah. But the offense, I have high expectations of. We have darn good players on offense. We have darn good pass catchers. We have some darn good offensive linemen. I don't think all 5 of our starting 5 are great, but we have some good guys on there who take a game off here or there, or take a play off here or there. That frustrates me.
Yeah.
We have a darn good quarterback who spent a lot of the year making people question whether he was a good quarterback. Now, that's not actually a question in my mind. I know whether he's good. He is good.
Yeah.
But he certainly had plenty of games this year, interceptions aside. He certainly had plenty of games this year where you're looking at the offense and going, what everybody else on this offense needs right now is somebody to come in and elevate them and hold them to task.
Yeah.
Tom Brady would.
Yeah.
Plenty of other guys would. Josh Allen would.
Yeah. Peyton would have done that for sure. Yeah.
I mean, even for
Peyton
his faults,
went to Denver and said, no, we're not that Denver team anymore. Right. And they took off.
We've had a lot of conversations about how Aaron Rodgers' personal skills and the ways that he chose to interact with his wide receivers maybe wasn't as effective as we think it should have been.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if he was captaining an 11-win team with 2 games left in the season against the Vikings and the Bears, and his wide receivers were playing the way that Jordan's wide receivers have been playing? Can you imagine the butt chewing out that they would get from him on and off the field?
Oh, yeah.
So, listen, I like Jordan Love a lot. I really don't have questions about how good he is or whether he'll be good long term. But he is a franchise quarterback, one of the highest paid players in the NFL. It is absolutely fair to ask perfection of him and to expect him to hold the rest of the offense accountable for playing like utter crap. Okay, Tucker Kraft has been great. Josh Jacobs has been great. The 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen have been inconsistent, but good enough.
Yeah.
And that's it. The rest of the offense, all right, I'm not trying to slander Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks. They've been good too. But holy crap, the pass catchers and a couple of the offensive linemen who are going to remain nameless, holy crap, is this embarrassing.
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways to look at this as I'm trying to put together. But, I think there's a couple things. Yeah, I think that that Aaron would demand more and also elevate, right? He would demand and also elevate, right? It wasn't just like, oh, no, I'm not, I'm not going to be introspective as well while I'm chewing you out, right? Like I am. I'm going to be introspective too. But he also went out there, and took care of business against the Vikings and Bears and said, no, we're not like, this isn't a coast to the finish line here. Like, we're going to finish this right. I will say, the one thing that Love and this Packers unit seems a little different is there are a lot of games that I can remember in the last, let's get from 2022 all the way back, going like, man, when they got smacked in the mouth, they kind of just said, yeah, this is kind of it, man. Like the Arizona game, oh man, what year? 16, 18. They lost 40-8. And it was a big game.
This was
what year was that?
In 18
was in Arizona.
Was the year where the Arizona game got McCarthy fired.
That wasn't it, because that was a home game. It was in Arizona. So it was a big
16.
game.
That would have been 16.
Okay. It was a big game, and it was like, wasn't 16 run the table? I thought it was late in the year. Was it 17 then?
Well, 17 was Brett Hundley.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what year it was. But they lost 40-8. And it was kind of like, oh, it's snowballs, it's done. Like we're not coming back. This isn't like, oh, we're fighting for anything.
It was 2015. It was 38-8.
38-8. It just, there are those games where it was kind of like, oh yeah, they don't have it. They're getting blown out. That's the one thing I will say about this Packers team. They're not comfortable with that. They will fight. Sure, they will make the blowout look better, but they're at least fighting. There are plenty of games where you would see that score, and you would, and unfortunately, you would see kind of 12 and McCarthy on the sidelines and go, yeah, this is it. They're not fighting or anything. They're done. Like we'll get a touchdown here or there, but this is a blowout. Like this will finish like one. So I do credit the young guys for fighting and coming back, but yes, you can't.
Well, I mean, they had plenty of games like that with Rodgers and LaFleur too, and that has been a big difference that I have highlighted a bunch of times with Jordan Love, is that he has a short memory in a good way. Yeah, and he does not get down on himself in a game, and so he doesn't let like 3 crappy quarters of football, and he still goes out there, wipes the last drive from his memory, rallies the guys, and says, "Hey, here's what we're going to do on this drive." Yeah. And to his credit, like, you don't ever see that from Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying he can't make comebacks, but you don't see games where everything is going crap for a Rodgers-led team, and he kind of gets in his head and then is able to get back out of it. That doesn't happen. Whereas it does happen with Jordan.
It's those Rodgers games where like you can feel it. Like there's something like it's not tangible, but you feel it, right? When it's kind of like, we're done here today. Or on to next week, like where you felt it. Other than the Bears comeback, right? That was like he can do it, right? But there were the big games. Some of those big games were kind of like, oh yeah, they don't have it. That's it. Like they just don't have it. Like I can't imagine the first Vikings game ever being close with 12 under center. Yeah, no shot is that going to be a close game. And Love just said, "Yeah, I threw 3 picks. Oh well, I'm throwing 4 touchdowns. I'll go. I got no problem with that. We're going to make this. We're fighting till minute 60, and so I do think there is that element at least with 10. But I think at some point, Love is going to have to kind of be like, hey, like listen, I have to be better. I'm going to demand the most of myself. I need to demand the most of you too, playing wide receiver. Like whether or not it's more calm conversations than like kind of the spastic chew outs that you can kind of see sometimes. It does. However he wants to be effective in doing it. There are many ways you can be effective, but I do think at some point Love kind of needs to, kind of take control like quarterbacks
and I think
can
he
do.
Will with age. I'm not really nervous about that
for sure. For sure. And I think at some point, because, again, I think the way he fights in games that look like blowouts, I think is evidence that I think with age, he's going to be able to do that. He's going to be able to step up, be introspective, but also demand it from everyone else. Like, listen, I made this mistake, you made this mistake, whatever. Doesn't matter. Think about the next one. You're going to make the play the next time and just, be able to kind of take command. Because once he does that, and he starts, and like we're taking command of what's going on, not just like I'm a goldfish, I'm going to command a goldfish, essentially, mentality from this team. That's a scary thought, I think, for everyone else. And so, I think it's just, I think that's one thing. And then the other, as you've already said, like for 3 quarters against good teams, just come out, ready to execute, not being afraid to make mistakes. Because I think when you tighten up is when you do it, right? Like, again, just the weird Jacobs fumble to start the Viking game. It was just kind of like, oh, wow, that's strange. Don't like that. Like, just kind of those little things of like coming out loose, coming out with expectations and knowing you can execute, like that mentality will help them in big games. The Minnesota games, as you said, 3 quarters of it. The one thing about the second Detroit game was it was like they flipped that switch right at the second half, which was huge. They didn't let it linger any longer than that first half. They're like, no, we're supposed to be playing better. We flipped the switch. We're taking the lead. They took a lead quick in that second half. And it was like, oh, okay, this is they found it. Now, of course, a couple things get away down the stretch, but like that's the Packers I want to see. That early second half Detroit, like, no. This is our game. This is our game. And like have that at the beginning of games. And I think, it's just a world of difference I think you would see from them. And again, it doesn't have to be, all out aggression. We can't be methodical in the approach at times, especially offensively. But, when LaFleur and Love are in the bags like last season's second half, everything just flows perfectly. And I think LaFleur is kind of maybe struggling a little bit more this year to kind of find that flow because volatile play at receiver isn't helping, okay, what do I design for this to help, the guys get into their best spots and also still be able to kind of, lean this run game up and like, okay, yeah, we're going to let Jacobs also set a tone. It is difficult to find that balance. I understand that from his perspective for sure. But I think finding that flow again for LaFleur is another big thing. So
we got some people talking about wide receiver in the draft. Prince Capsaicin says Jake will find us a sleeper wide receiver in the draft. I have faith. Bro, I find sleeper wide receivers in the draft every year. Goody just doesn't like my type of wide receiver.
There you go.
Brian Maffey, how early does Goody draft a wide receiver now? Jake, let me put this question to you. Does Goody draft a wide receiver?
Yes.
Think he will?
Yes.
All right, how early?
I don't think before the 3rd round. I would be shocked if it was before the 3rd round.
This feels like round 3. It's too old for this. Famous college football fan tool for this. Travis Hunter is a good sleeper wide receiver.
Could be. He's too old for this is onto something, I think, guys.
Do we know, by the way, is Travis Hunter going to be a corner or a receiver in the NFL?
I'm almost
my vote is corner.
Almost positive what's going to happen is he's going to play corner full time, and you're going to get like okay, here's a package of plays where we can set you up to help us out offensively, right? Could be 10 plays, could be 15. That's probably how it's going to go. It could depend on the team, of course, but I think if you're going to try to be like, okay, we're going to do our best to maximize, like, it's probably going to be like, we'll package you some high leverage downs and we'll use the elite ball skills and the elite instincts and all of the, physical stuff, the burst, all that stuff he has at corner and like just let him run routes for receivers like on defense all the time. And, I kind of hope he goes to New England. I would like that with Gonzalez, and then he gets to package some plays for Drake May. That would be sick. It feels like he might go to Cleveland at this point, but we'll see.
I'd like him in New England too. It'll just be interesting to see who Ryan Day hires as his defensive coordinator. That's all.
There you go. I can't imagine Vrabel if Vrabel gets that job, going like You're telling me I can have Gonzalez and Hunter playing corner for me? That's what you're telling me that? Okay, sick. Yeah. We'll figure the rest out on defense. You'd let me take care of that. Let those two take care of some other business. I'll take care of the other. I'll take care of everything else.
I do think Mike Vrabel and Ryan Day, in some combination, are going to be the Ohio State and Patriots head coaches next year. I think those two guys fill those two jobs. Just not sure which one takes which one.
There you go.
Adam Huddle has been watching some Stanford ball.
There you go.
Stanford's been putting out some decent receivers the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Michael
Wilson's been a find too. Yep. This is the one. Nope.
Tyron Lacey.
Draft LSU wide receivers. Don't overthink anything. Just draft the LSU guy. Gonna be good.
Yep.
No problem.
If all the LSU guys are taken,
also
take some Ohio State guys. But yeah
also like if LSU guy plus LSU guy plus LSU QB are all like really good, they're probably really good. Like that's probably you're good there.
Just don't touch the LSU running back.
Yeah, probably not. Don't worry about the running back. There's plenty of other running backs. But when there's a trio at LSU, which there sounds like they're, but I don't know. Nussmeier could be all right, but like even Beckham and Landry were good without the QB. So like if there's a duo next year at LSU, which I'm hearing there will be, that's we'll be monitoring the situation.
Prince Capsaicin thinks that people will be ticked off if we took a center early, which I don't understand because Josh Myers has been the whipping boy for the Packers.
This is the problem.
Yeah, for years.
The problem is you got Brailsford go back for Alabama. He's going back. I know some people have already caught on to Slaughter at Florida. I don't know if he's confirmed in or not. Don't remember.
I mean,
but like center is going to be kind of strange.
You didn't know who we're taking at center?
Well, Seth McLaughlin. I know who.
It's Seth McLaughlin. No. Yeah, Corey Linsley, Josh Myers.
Can we not? Can we do something else? No, can we do something else? I would like to do something else. Personally, I would like to take the Purdue fella. I don't know how you say his last name. I haven't found that pronunciation yet, which is strange because it's not that many letters.
Wikipedia is telling me it's pronounced Zach Edey.
Son of a gun.
Oh, you meant the Purdue football center. Oh.
I don't know if he. I don't remember if he's played. I don't think he's played a lot of center, or if any. But just tell me what the pronunciation is.
I don't actually. Even though I've watched several Purdue games this year, I don't even know who we're talking about here.
I just need. It's Marcus
and
Mbo.
Of course their roster just lists everybody as offensive line, so that's cute.
I just don't know. I would love to know the pronunciation, but it's Marcus Mbo. It's MBOW. Please.
Mbow. Marcus Mbow.
Could be.
I don't know. I've never heard his name before.
Mbow, maybe. Yeah. But like that's the one.
Bow,
that's the one.
Bow,
yes,
bow.
That's the guy. That's our guy.
Twitter is convinced that Elton Jenkins is going to be our center next year.
Yeah, I did see that.
Twitter is convinced you got Jordan Morgan at left guard, Sean Ryan still at right guard, Elton Jenkins at center, Zach Tom still at right tackle.
I think it's bold to assume that the guards will, like Morgan taking a guard spot makes sense. I think it's bold to assume, Hilton's one of those cats. Yeah, I forget the other guy's name, but like they're.
First of all, this says, "Isn't that a Hanson song?"
Oh no, that's it.
Adam Huddle says,
"Boy, that's Jake Hanson's music."
Dub's name.
That's Jake Hanson's music. Oh man, no. I will say, it's going to suck that the season ends for Green Bay, But man, I'm ready. We can hit that switch anytime. We can.
You going to the NFL draft with me?
I think my plan is to get up there at some capacity.
Just
but we'll see.
That's
a plan.
We made a promise on our last live stream, which was 2 weeks ago now, because we missed last week because of the holidays.
Yes, we did miss.
We made a promise that we were going to put out our own Pro Bowl nominees.
Yep.
But we were going to fix the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Because we think that the Pro Bowl as an exhibition game is stupid.
Also, we were fixing awards season.
That's basically what we were doing is what we were going to do is propose that the NFL do positional awards the way that college football does. And so we're going to give our top 3 at each position for the 2024 season. Too old for this. I want to go to the draft, but everywhere to stay is so expensive. That's my problem as well. Yeah. No problem. So in college, you get the Blitnikoff Award, and that is the best wide receiver in college football. And so you get the 3 finalists, and they are ranked, and it's a good old time. And we think that's how the NFL should do it too, and do away with the stupid Pro Bowl that nobody watches, and have it not be a popularity contest. So, even though too old for this is trying to sidetrack us, Jake, do you want to start with defense, and you can go through who our Pro Bowl winners would have been?
I will happily go to deep. Where do you want me to start on defense? Is the question.
So I think what I'm going to do here real quick.
Because I've treated it like the college award season. I've put 3 to 4 names on here.
Okay.
And have kind of reasoning for the most part. Do you want me to start at defensive end edge? Is that where you want me to?
Let's kick
things off, or do you want to start in the secondary, or do you want to start deep? Where do you want to start?
Let's do edge, and but I'm going to read off who actually won in real life.
Okay.
And then we'll give who we think it should have been. So
yeah.
The other thing that the Pro Bowl does that's stupid is split up into NFC, AFC. I don't care about that.
Yep.
So for the AFC at defensive end, we have Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, and Max Crosby for the AFC. For the NFC, we have Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, and Rashawn Garrett. So go ahead and give me your top 3, starting with number 3 and working way up to number 1 for defensive.
Okay, this was hard because I have 5 names.
Okay,
I have 5 names on the ballot.
Do your top 3.
This is the Reggie White Award.
Do number 2, and then do your just missed it, and then do your number 1. Okay,
so at number 3 for me. Gosh, it's hard that I'm going to leave these 2 guys off, but I'm actually going to mirror the Pro Bowl a decent bit. I even forgot. I didn't look at the Pro Bowl stuff at all. I forgot who even made it, to be honest, until I pulled it up about 5 minutes before we started.
I almost never look because I don't care.
But I do have at 3. I have Danielle Hunter at 3.
Okay.
I think he has 90 pressures this year. Which is just a genuinely insane thing to think about. I think, funny enough, I think the Grenard-Hunter exchange was a whole lot of hoopla for nothing there, right? Turns out it was just a good exchange. No notes. Yep. Good job, everybody. And he has a 19% pressure rate, which is up there with pretty much everybody. You look at your Hendricksons, Garrett. He's higher than Garrett. And he is tied with Micah Parsons. So I said, Danielle Hunter in terms of addition, impact, what he's done for that Houston front. I had him at 3. I have at 2, I've got, actually, I do have Myles Garrett. I think he had like 14 sacks. That's great. He was third in pressures, get an 18.5% pressure rate this year. He is that dude. He will be that dude every year for, probably other than once he gets to like 32, 33. I mean, he's in phenomenal shape every year, and he looks like he's a terror out there. Just off the list, I left the sack leader just off, Hendrickson. He's had a phenomenal year, 17.5 sacks. I just left him off, and I also had to include Van Ginkel on this honorable mentions for edge defenders because he is the 2024 Havoc play leader. And you go, what's that? Well, it's plays with a sack, a tackle for loss, a forced fumble, interception, or pass breakup. So there's a lot of interesting names on that list. Van Ginkel is your leader on that list.
Okay.
Hendrickson's actually third on the list, but Van Ginkel had 30 of such plays. Hendrickson had 28. So those two made the honorable mention. When I watched this guy play, and he didn't play all 17 games, but he had a 19% pressure rate anyway and had 75 pressures, 12 sacks, is Micah Parsons. Dude is just about unstoppable when you talk about pass rushers. So I had to include him. Those are my 5. But the top 3 in the honorable mentions.
I'm going to wait, who did you say was your number 1?
Parsons.
Parsons, okay.
So I had Parsons 1, Garrett 2, Hunter 3, and then Hendrickson, Van Ginkel are my honorable mentions.
So I'm going to segue for a second, or sidetrack for a second. So we have a couple new people in the chat that I haven't seen before. First, we got Albert Anderson. Good evening from Fargo, North Dakota. Horns up. Bison won their 10th national championship against Montana State last night. Of course, Jake knows.
Bison.
Also, go Pack Go. We have a very good chance to beat the Eagles. I did say that I think the Packers probably will beat the Eagles. Jake, I don't remember. Did you give your
I did not give my prediction. I am going to take the Eagles, but I think the Packers will keep it closer than I think it's 4.5. I think it's the line. I think they're going to keep it closer than that. That's what I'm thinking at this point. Something like, could be like 28-26, something like that.
Albert, thank you for hopping in the chat. Nice to meet you. Everybody who is watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on X, like flip over to YouTube because it's easier to get your comments in over there. If you're not subscribed to the Derailed YouTube channel already, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell so you know when we go live, so you can be a part of this live stream every week. We have so much fun. We also have, I don't know how you say your last name. I'm gonna take a shot at it. Daryl Azian. Is that how you say your last name? Things are a little grim with the Packers unless they decide to make some kind of deal or signing. There's a couple players they can pick up before this Sunday, because I'm not sure with these inexperienced players. As far as like a deal, we can't make any trades because the trade deadline is passed. There's not a ton that we can do in free agency because there's not a ton of free agents. I agree. It feels like they would need some extra help to really make a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah,
I think at this point in the year, with what is out there, and Daryl, if you have some specific ideas of who you would like them to go sign, who's a free agent right now, would love to hear it. But I think probably help is going to have to come from within, most likely.
Yeah. Hey, Malik Heath, man, it's your time. There
was a lot of Malik Heath love earlier in the chat.
Yeah.
And then 2-0 for this.
Yeah. Reggie
is pumping up Reggie Bageltron. All right,
man.
Bageltron bringing him back.
Yes. Heck yes.
Somebody, I think it was Tyler Dershel, was trying to scar me by talking about how they're going to bring Samori Toure back, and yeah, they probably will. And thanks to that Tyler Dershel.
Jeff Janis, baby, where you at?
Who would you rather have, Samori Toure or Jeff Janis in 2025?
Oh gosh, in 2025, I mean, Toure's younger, probably still got more juice. But man, Janis for those 2 plays against Arizona. If we could just have those 2 plays, like not obviously like it doesn't have to be on a 4th and 20 for whatever 60 yards and catching a Hail Mary, but like 2 two for like whatever that was, 88, 90 yards in some capacity would be awesome to have for this game. Having somebody have 45 yards of reception on just 2 big plays to help the offense go would be massive. Shout out Watson.
Cool.
Hurry up. Get back.
Between those
big
two
dog.
guys, give me prime D-Hop.
Well, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate your stellar football analysis tool for this.
Give me Prime D. Can I get Prime Megatron while we're at it? That'd be great.
Daryl says, I like to have a few extra guys for reassurance. They can sign players other than trading. I'm not thinking of trading.
Okay, just make a deal with somebody. Like an Odell.
Yeah, I guess I would be curious to go over the list of like the seasons that are over. Is there anybody who's actually available to be signed?
Zeke was available.
He was.
Cowboys cut him and they said, you can go ring chase, big dog. And he did.
I actually have a name of somebody who I think might be able to help with this passing offense to kind of make up for the missing Christian Watson. And that name would be Luke Musgrave. Be curious to see him stretch the field.
That'd be sick. That'd be sick. My guy just brother, just keep your feet under you, big dog. Just keep your feet under you. I think the one thing we didn't, I'm going to point this out in something that I'm working on, but like, I don't think we realize how like good Watson has been like in his stem through contact this year, like using, the big frame to get through a lot of stuff to make sure he's going to get into space on time and according, like that has been crucial for his development. Again, he's never going to be the guy who, is running the full route tree. Like it just isn't going to be that, but like to be effective on all the deep crossers and the posts and all the fades and the go routes, right? Like to work through contact with guys who are going to at corner or are going to try to push you around to disrupt stuff. Like that has been so big for him this year. So big for him. It's just, again, that's not everybody can be, your favorite player in the league necessarily, right? Like not everybody's going to be your Jeffersons, your Chases.
Kadarius Toney is a free agent.
He is a free agent. I mean, if we could run those two plays, like the two plays that Philly that Kansas City ran on Philly in the Super Bowl, right, where it's just kind of it's return motion essentially back to the outside, like 2 touchdowns for Toney in that regard, I feel fine. Can he hold the ball in a big punt return? If he can, awesome. Flip the field like he did in the Philly game. Like if he could do that, sure. I would not be giving him routes from people, right, like that. But
I never thought I would be able to use my favorite Kadarius Toney meme again. So I'm just happy that you guys have allowed me this.
There you go.
This would be my reaction if we signed Kadarius Toney.
Jeez.
It's my favorite Kadarius Toney meme. Honestly, like, sure, why not? Screw it, bring him in.
I mean,
whatever. Who cares?
It'd be sick. It'd be sick if you could do what the NBA does with the 10-day contracts. Like we're bringing him in on a 10-day. We'll see how it goes.
All right, let me have the spotlight back. I need to talk about my Pro Bowl.
You didn't, but it was good of you. It was good of you for the new viewers too.
This is just a Edge Rusher of the Year award, all right, and to be named at some point.
The Reggie White,
the Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, sure. We'll call this the Reggie, all right.
Yep.
All right, so I have at number 3. This was a hard one for me. At number 3, I had Micah Parsons.
Okay.
And there were 3 other guys I was considering at number 3. Nick Bosa.
Yeah. That's fair.
Jared Verse.
Yeah, Verse was.
And Chop Robinson. Those were the 3 guys. Those would have been my 4, 5, and 6. And it was really close. Those 3 guys and Micah Parsons. At number 2, I did go Trey Hendrickson.
Okay.
And at number 1, I have Myles Garrett. And the reason I had Myles Garrett at number 1 was the pressure rate. It is just out of this world. Love to see it. Couple guys who were in consideration and didn't make the cut. TJ Watt, his pressure rate was just not where it needed to be this year. I know he had a ton of double teams. But he's not the only dog on that defensive line. and he
No,
has
we'll be getting
handled
to
double
one.
teams. He's handled double teams before.
Yeah.
But the reason that he was in consideration was just the amount of splash plays and the run defense. So that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's do the interior defensive line.
By the way, TJ Watt was second on that Havoc play leaders. Again, just kind of doing a little bit of everything. And
I think I just calculated the Havoc plays a little differently. I was really rushed when I put my list together, so I don't remember what all the stats were that I put in there. But I know I had tackles for loss, sacks, fumble recoveries, that kind of stuff. So safeties were in there. So for me, TJ Watt was number 1 on that list.
Okay.
So for interior defensive line, let's hit this one.
I'm calling
3?
this the Donald Randall Award, I think. I think that's what I'm calling this one.
I don't know if that's fair. I think you can only use one.
Yeah, but it's it's hyphenated. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
They aren't married to each other. For the old heads, we'll do the Randall. The younger folks, Aaron Donald Award. Okay, if you want to call it that, that's fine.
Who got number 3?
So, really quick honorable mention to Dexter Lawrence, who continues to be a pressure generator there. Yep. Injuries, kind of cut the season short, so I didn't quite get him onto the top 3. For me, number 3 actually is Zach Seiler from Miami. Dude has back-to-back double-digit sack seasons now for them, and has been the one dude on that defensive line who can stay healthy. It sucks that Jalen Phillips continues to suffer those season-ending injuries. Bradley Chubb hasn't been healthy since they acquired him. I had to put Seiler on here. I want to give him some love. He has been.
Seiler was actually my number 3 as well. It was really close. What I didn't like was his missed tackle rate was pretty high.
Yes, that is true.
But I did finally go ahead and give him number 3.
Yeah, so he gets 3 for me. Number 2 for me is Cam Hayward. Dude is just, I can't believe what he's doing at 35 right now. Pressure rate maybe not as good as some of these other guys on here, but I think down to down, you see the impact. The havoc he's wreaking, playing all 3 downs at a high level this year. For Pittsburgh, it was hard for me to leave Watt off the edge defensive end list, but man, Cam Hayward has been a darn game wrecker this year for Pittsburgh. Number 1 for me is Zach Allen from Denver, pressure leader among defensive tackles.
Wow.
He's been lighting it up, man. He's doing a lot of the dirty work to help out, his fellas out there. Nick Bonito, who's had a lot of sacks this year for them. Another guy who I think is just doing the dirty work, and it is a crazy year that these are the 3 dudes on the list for me. But I am very thrilled to see how well he has been playing this year for them. He have 67 pressures? That's more than Brian Burns. That's more than Nick Bosa. Dude's been. It's the same as Josh Hines-Allen, right? He's 2 behind Grenard, who's everybody's, again, a guy we didn't really talk about at the defensive end edge lists, but he has been a force on the defensive line. Yes, I know. I can't believe I left Chris Jones off, but he was in the honorable mentions, as was Braden Fisk. So I want to shout out the Rooks because I didn't get to do it for Verse, but gotta shout out Fisk this year. The Rams, man, with these rookies. Yes, there's been some volatile play from a couple of them, but Kinchins has made his mark at times, and then you have Fisk and Verse in there. This Rams front office, man, they just keep picking good players.
I had Zach Seiler at number 3. Okay. It was really close between him and honorable mention. Okay. Number 2, I had Calais Campbell.
That's
really
good
appreciated
too.
his run defense this year.
It's really good.
Number 1 overall, I had Cam Hayward.
Okay.
Just dominated in every category I care about from a
defensive
lineman, and he's 55 years old.
He's crazy.
The just missed it were Chris Jones, Grover Stewart, and Poona Ford.
Poona, yes.
Also, I guess honorable mention to Tavondre Sweat. I thought he was really freaking inconsistent. Yes. But I thought he turned it on when it mattered. Not that it really mattered ever much for
Yeah.
the Titans. But
Yeah.
just saying, as things went along, and I was starting to wonder about Devondre, thought he started developing nicely.
Yeah, Devondre's looked nice. Nice. Okay.
I'm
Sweet.
gonna go super stinking quick on linebacker because I
Sounds good.
always hate trying to evaluate linebacker.
What's
I don't
this
think
award name?
this would have to be.
The Lambert?
Oh man,
The
I
Lambert?
mean,
The Butkus?
I was gonna say Butkus.
Okay.
Isn't the Butkus Award a real thing in
I
real
think
life
it
though?
is. So maybe we should do the Lambert for.
The Butkus Award
I think it
is the
is.
most impactful linebacker in the game
Yeah. So let's. I guess we got to pivot.
in college. Why can't we have the Butkus Award in the NFL be the
You want
exact
to
same
have?
thing though?
Okay. All right.
Let's just do it. It's the Butkus Award. Okay.
Okay.
So I have at number 3. I had Devin Lloyd.
Okay.
Number 2, Robert Spillane.
Okay.
Number 3, dude, screw it. T.J. Edwards played good football this year.
Yeah, DJ Edwards was in my honorable mentions. He's played some good ball for the Bears.
Who are your top 3?
So my top
I don't
three
spend
are
much time
we have
thinking about
zero
linebacker.
of the same players. I have Dion
fine.
Henley at 3 for the Chargers. Some
Okay.
really good stuff in coverage. His pass rating a lot in coverage. It sticks out like a sore thumb on next gen stats. If you're looking amongst other linebackers, it's crazy. At 2, I have Jordan Brooks. Again, shout out to what Miami's doing, man. Their defense with that's Weaver, right? That went down there. Yeah, Anthony Weaver went down there. Boy, those
From
guys,
Baltimore.
they're playing way better than they did with Fangio down there, which is kind of insane to think about. But I don't know what what
The
Weaver's been
NFL has
doing.
passed Fangio by, man. His time is done.
It is crazy what Weaver's doing for that unit. There's a reason that like people are starting to like think he's going to get head coaching looks even sooner than we thought, because
Dude,
as we
I'm
mentioned, we
super
have
happy
Campbell, Sealer, and we have and now Brooks on these awards. That's insane with what they've.
Well,
been
we had 2 Miami guys for we had 2
Oh, you
Miami
put
guys.
Chop on the honorable mentions too.
Yeah.
Jeez, what a year for them.
I'm super
defensively.
happy with Jeff Hafley. Like he was, if I could
Yeah.
have had literally anybody, okay, probably Spags first, but then
Yeah.
Hafley. But Anthony Weaver was a guy I really wanted as well. Just throwing that out there.
These guys are the Weaver. You said Halfley, of course. Zach Orr. They've made a switch, which I'm going to talk about later. Spoiler alert. As we move on to the positions, but like he's flipped a switch for them down the stretch, and then obviously what Minter's doing out there in L.A.
You were
pretty.
you were high on Minter this preseason.
Yeah, I which is, and it's like their personnel isn't like exceptional. So like and they're getting a lot out of it. So these young DCs that have taken jobs in the past year, it's good stuff. Number 1 for me is Zach Bond from Philly.
Nice.
Just phenomenal year for him. They're still letting him, get after the QB a few times here and there, but like him making this transition to linebacker and playing this well for Philly when they like legitimately needed it. Like linebackers for them the past few years have been pretty much civilians out there on defense. So like to have actually something there, and a really really good player at that for them, that's massive for the defense. So yeah, Henley, Brooks, Bond for my top 3.
At safety.
This is the Ed Reed Award, and I'm not.
I'll allow it. That's fine
All
with me.
right, that's
At safety, at number 3, I have Xavier McKinney.
okay.
Wanted to put him higher.
Yeah,
He was a little inconsistent throughout the year. He had a little bit of a slump in the middle of the year. But he started strong, finished strong.
yeah.
Xavier McKinney is my number 3. Ooh, Toll for this said this should be the Palomalo Award.
Nope. He's a linebacker. I want true post safeties out here. Okay, that's who we're naming it after. And
So-
McKinney made the cut. So there you go.
So this was really hard for me because I had 4 names that I thought really belonged at
Okay.
safety. And from a numbers perspective, Xavier McKinney was kind of in 4th place.
Interesting.
But I ultimately took into consideration some tackling issues with one guy who otherwise was phenomenal. And that one guy who got left off is Kyle Hamilton. Other than the tackling issues, he absolutely deserved to be in there.
Okay.
Xavier McKinney, number 3. Kyle Hamilton, honorable mention. I'm supposed to do 2 and then honorable mention. Okay.
Yeah.
2 would be Kirby Joseph.
Okay.
And 1 is Derwin James. And I actually docked Kirby a little bit for the dirty plays and the penalties.
Okay.
So Kirby played fantastic. I docked him a little bit. Derwin James was my number 1. But this was tough for me because I thought that there were 4 guys who really deserved to be in the mix. And I think any one of these 4 guys could win this award in another year, but there just happen to be 4 guys who were fantastic.
Yeah.
So I want to hear your names.
Okay. I only had 3. There were no other names, no honorable mentions. Here we go.
Yep.
Number 3, Xavier McKinney. Again, production was there this year. I think, as you said, other than kind of a little dip there where you saw some angle and some tackling stuff, perhaps, he's been tremendous, a playmaker, exactly what Green Bay needed on the back end. Number 2, Kirby Joseph. Again, back end play, creating turnovers, just a phenomenal playmaker this year. Number 1, the best player.
Hold on. I predict that we don't have the same safety, and I feel, based on the grins you were giving me, that your number 1 wasn't in my top 4. Am I correct?
Nope, he was not.
No?
He was not in the top 4.
Right.
My number 1 safety, the best player in the 2022 NFL draft, is Kyle Hamilton. They moved him from playing the box stuff, which they needed a player like that to do last year. He was phenomenal doing it last year. He was fine doing it to start the year. And Zach Orr comes in mid-season, says, this isn't working.
Yep.
It's not working. So, Kyle, we need you to go on the back end and play. We need you to go back there. And the defense has been humming ever since. The fact that Hamilton can do both puts him above everyone else, in my opinion.
That's fair.
That's what fair. I got.
Kyle, he was in my 4. He was the guy who got left off because of the tackling issues.
Right. So once you went 3-2, I was like, oh my gosh, we might have. So we've been. No, that's probably the closest.
Very deserving winner. Very deserving winner.
I think there's going.
I had to be nitpicky somewhere to.
Are we gonna have people vote on these? We have people vote on these.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys think there's somebody left off who's being snubbed.
Oh no! The people don't get to vote for snubs. They gotta pick from the list that we present.
Okay,
right. But they can pick. They can choose the winners. But we'll present.
You want to give me your top 3 at corner? This one was actually pretty easy for me. I had a pretty clear cut top 3.
Okay, this will be interesting because I feel like we're probably not going to have the same top.
Probably not.
If I'm guessing, number 1 I thought was easy for me. Honorable mention wise, I feel like there were a couple others that I thought about putting on here. But it was a struggle, honestly. I will say the Riley Moss is one of the ones I was thinking about putting on the list. Missed some time, but boy, when he's out there with Surtain, they are a force. Yeah, so number 3, Marlon Humphrey, big bounce back year from him. Pretty impressed overall with how he played this year for the Baltimore secondary. Through 5 weeks, my number 2 would have been nowhere near this conversation at all. But he flipped a switch for the defense. I put Derek Stingley at number 2. And then number 1, I think he's above everybody else. Patrick Surtain's the best in the game right now. I like even separated them on the list. I like Surtain, and then I have a space, and then the other 2 are here because I think the gap's that big right now.
I have an interesting list here. So I use the combination of PFF coverage grade, which I do like. I used yards per reception allowed.
Okay.
And then I put together a tackling stat.
Okay.
And so my number 3 is actually Cooper DeJean. And largely he's up there because he led the league among corners who actually played a decent number of snaps with the lowest yards per reception. Now, part of that happens to be where he plays on the field, of course.
Sure.
I also just think he's freaking good.
Yep.
Number 2 for me, Christian Benford.
Yes, Benford.
Liked his season for Buffalo.
Yes.
Nobody just missed. The top 3 for me were pretty clear cut, but I did give a little honorable mention to Marlon Humphrey, Christian Gonzalez, and Trent
Gonzalez. That's exciting for Patriots fans. Which there's not a lot of exciting things at the moment, but that's one of them.
Number 1, Patrick Surtain.
Yeah,
I was not as impressed as you were with his early season, but he finished really strong, and I was happy with how he finished the season.
Yeah, I think he is in the class ozone to me.
You want to flip over to quarterback?
Yeah, sure. This is pretty simple.
This is the was it the Geno Smith Award? This is the Sam Darnold Award.
This award, because honestly, we should call it.
It's the Brady, isn't it? The Brady?
No, I would never call it that.
It's either got to be Brady, Manning, or Rodgers, right?
I will call it the Peyton Manning Award.
Okay, that's fine. I'll allow it.
Okay. So basically, these 3 guys are in the top 4 of the EPA CPOE composite. Just again, the years they had, one had insane production, one carried his team essentially, and the other had his best season ever and it might not be rewarded. I truly didn't have 3, 2, 1. I don't know. I think you can put this in any order.
I think you have to, though. You have to.
Okay,
You have to
I'll put it in
3, 2,
order.
1.
All right. I'm going to put... Oh, man. I'm going to put Burrow at 3.
Okay.
The numbers were
We're
tremendous.
going to have the same top 3.
The numbers were tremendous. And again, without him, in the offense, the Bengals are a tragedy. I have Josh Allen at 2. Again, elevator, had some truly insane games when he needed to have insane games. He went toe-to-toe with the Rams when the Bills couldn't stop anybody, and he went toe-to-toe and helped beat the Lions, again, with the defense that really wasn't going to stop them. Then I got number 1, Lamar Jackson. I mean, goodness sakes, man. Goodness sakes, Lamar Jackson. I mean, I didn't think we were going to see a step forward, but we saw a step forward. Like, it's going to suck because he's probably not going to win it this year, and he should win it this year.
He should
and
win it.
You maybe
I think
could.
he will.
I think he should. No disrespect to Allen, dude's having an incredible year, but it's just goodness sakes, Lamar. Continue to keep doing it, big dog. Like, seriously.
I think you're going to get acceptable and defensible to vote either Allen or Lamar for MVP. My vote would be Lamar.
Yeah.
Nobody else even belongs in the conversation. I'm sorry to the Saquon lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice year. If you're going to vote Saquon, you need to out loud with your mouth say, I can't vote for the Eagles' offensive line, so I am voting for Saquon.
Also,
he's on the ballot.
I think the biggest, I think the thing that crushed the MVP talk for Saquon was Washington game. Hurts goes down, and Washington goes, we don't have to, Kenny Pickett's not running. We're putting an extra guy in the box. And he carried it 20 times for 40 yards the rest of the game after Hurts got hurt. And it's okay, it stinks, but you're going to win, probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year. But,
Saquon's been around for a long time. We know who he is.
It is what it is.
We also have seen the Eagles' offensive line around for a long time. Yeah. We've seen the Eagles' offense.
We know who they are.
We saw what freaking DeAndre Swift did in that offense.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yes, Saquon is better than DeAndre Swift. No, I'm not putting Saquon Barkley on my MVP ballot.
No. I can't.
But we have the same top 3 for quarterback. It's clear and obvious. Love seeing Joe Burrow bounce back.
Yes.
Kind of wish he would lose the haircut because he looks like Ellen. But other than that,
Yeah.
no notes.
Those are the elite players this year at QB.
I want to hear your top 3 at running back because I was really struggling with the order.
Okay.
Of these 3 guys.
My order is specifically on one stat. That's it. Rush EPA. That's it. Total rush EPA on the year.
Okay.
If you're top 3 in that, you're in the list. So number 3 is Saquon. Again, phenomenal year, 2,000 yards. What else is there to say? He had 1.6 rush yards over expectation per attempt. He had 549 rush yards over expectation. He's an absolute freak out there. But I have him at 3. Number 2. He's number 2 in rush EPA. It's Jahmyr Gibbs.
I wonder if you
explosive play machine, and it mattered for that offense. Again, this is just legitimately off rush EPA. That's it. That's all I did. I thought about doing rush yards over expectation per attempt, but it left Jahmyr Gibbs off, and I couldn't leave Jahmyr Gibbs off. And number 1's Derrick Henry in terms of rush EPA. Probably, again, him and Barkley were the closers this year. I couldn't leave Henry off. He got 1,900 yards again. He's gotten it twice now. That's insane. Father Time will get him eventually, but I don't know when that is. It is crazy. I want to put this guy on the honorable mentions because he had such a freaking good year. And I can't say enough good things about this cat. Bijan's a stud. We don't have to question that anymore. He's a stud. It's over. He had 1,456 rush yards. He had like 1,887 scrimmage yards this year. I think he was 5th. No, he might be. No, yeah, 5th in rush EPA for qualifying running backs this year. So phenomenal year from Bijan. Have to shout him out. Seriously.
All right. I think it's a good list. I had I think the same top 5 as you because my top 5 happened to be the top 5 in rush EPA.
Okay, so you have wow, nice.
What?
I know who the 5th guy is, so that's pretty.
So the 5th guy would be Josh Jacobs then.
I have Josh Jacobs with negative 34.8 rush EPA. I see Bucky Irving 5th on next gen for me, or 4th. I mean, sorry, Bucky Irving 4th and Bijan 5th.
Well,
anyway.
So I had Jahmyr Gibbs at 4.
Okay.
I put Bijan at 3. No, sorry. I put Saquon at 3.
Okay.
Saquon at 3. I put
Saquon at 3. Okay.
I put Bijan at 2 and Derrick Henry at 1.
Okay. Gotcha.
Similar list.
Big shout out to the Rook, Bucky Irving. Crushed it. Absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, I had him on my fantasy team early and
crushed it this year.
Packaged him in a trade when I was desperate for some help.
Yeah, he was. I had Bijan, Achane, Cook, and Bucky on a team and didn't win because I got T. Higgins and Jonathan Taylor. Anyway,
I got Josh.
Forget those two cats.
I had Josh Allen as my quarterback, and
there you go.
And then he cratered in the semifinal.
Yeah, he did for my buddy too, who had the number 1 seed in a league I was in. He rode Barkley and Allen. Didn't get much from Allen. Yeah.
So who do you have
now for the main event?
This
is the main event, people. Okay, listen. I would love to include Neighbors here on this list. I can't do it.
Okay, I wondered because I kept trying to figure out how to fit him in, and I just couldn't intellectually do it. But I wanted to because I thought you'd think I was cool.
I need to shout him out, and I need to shout out. I can't believe it's crazy. I have a guy at number 3 who did not get 1,000 yards, but I'm gonna explain.
Okay.
I'm gonna explain that. Okay. But I have to shout out Brian Thomas Jr. as well. He was the best rookie receiver this year, in my opinion. Even better than Neighbors. What a dominant with Mac Jones down the stretch. My guy 1282 and 10 this year. Sickening good. Okay. Number 3. the first in
I
yards
think I
per
know who
route,
you're going with
first
at
in
number
yards
3
per
after
route
the
run
second
against
runner.
man coverage, second in yards per run against zone coverage, first in yards per route run from the perimeter, first in yards per route per run from the slot. Puka Nacua. He is elite. It's over. Conversation's done. He's elite. From other than the injuries, he is an elite receiver. No matter where he lines up. That's the guy who had 990 at receiver this year. I couldn't leave him off.
disqualified Puka. I disqualified Puka because he missed so many games.
Yeah,
I just
I
felt
know.
like I felt like
That's fair.
in college he wouldn't win the Biletnikoff because he missed so much time.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I
that's
disqualified him.
That's understandable. I can't get over how good he is. I can't.
Fair.
I can't get over how good he is. I struggled with Puka, Brian Thomas, London, and Neighbors, all in that like cluster for a top 3 spot, and I just didn't know where to go, and I have to put Puka in there. Okay, Jefferson's 2 for me, and then Chase is 1. I think it's very obvious. There are 4 LSU receivers I mentioned, by the way, in that in that coupling of 6. What else you got to say? Like, it's truly crazy what those guys are
You're
doing.
gonna hate my list, but I heavily
Okay.
tilted it toward yards per route run.
Okay.
So my number 3 was Jamar Chase.
Okay.
Number 2 was Brian Thomas.
Yep.
Honorable mention, Drake London.
Yeah.
And number 1, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Drake London would have been number 2.
Yeah.
The only stat of all of the stats that I was considering of his that dropped him down to 4th for me was yards per route run.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
Other than that, I had him above Jamar Chase in everything else that I was way, but yards per route run.
Yeah, I think in total, like receiving EPA, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is 1 on here, but
Yeah, but his yards per route run was 1.14.
oh yeah, it's yeah,
which was considerably lower than the
he
top
runs
4.
so many routes. It's crazy. Yeah, I can't. I cannot quit the LSU boys. We'll never. Tight end I think was pretty easy. I think there were just 3 names for me.
I had 3, and then with my heart there was a honorable mention.
There was an okay. So for me, in terms of so this is where it gets interesting because I'm sure our order isn't the same. Simply because this dude does things the other 2 don't.
Okay.
I have Trey McBride at 3.
Okay.
Tremendous year from him. Pretty much he was the receiver 1. 45 EPA generated this year. That was, I believe, 2nd among tight ends with that many routes run. I have Brock Bowers at 2. Phenomenal rookie, tremendous player. Set the reception record a year after Puka did it. By the way, Neighbors broke Puka's record as well. Just shows you this class is a different animal and the same beast. Shout out Kobe Bryant. Number 1 for me is George Kittle. It snuck up on me how utterly dominant he's been in terms of generating EPA for them, explosive plays. Not to mention, unlike the other 2, inline tight end, blocks his butt off. Not that the other 2 can't be helpful in some regard. McBride's, I think, helpful, but he just isn't Kittle as a blocker. So those are my top 3. The order was the struggle for me.
We had the same top 3. I just flipped McBride and Bowers because I felt that McBride offered more as a receiver. He had more yards per route run. Like what Brock Bowers did. George Kittle was the clear and obvious number 1 by a wide margin. And then honorable mention for me went to Tucker Kraft. Just wanted to appreciate what he did this year.
Tucker, good stuff, man. I will say really quick on Kittle. Yeah, he was number 1 receiving EPA. McBride had higher receiving EPA than Bowers did, so he's generating more explosives. Bowers had more yards after the catch over expectation. That kind of separated a little bit from me of like, okay, Bowers is like doing some yak stuff that some of these guys aren't doing. But then obviously Kittle was number one in yards after the catch over expectation as well. He's a sicko, man. It truly sucks. He is not. It truly sucks. He doesn't have more years like this year, because he's going to be underappreciated in history, which truly sucks, honestly. But
Daryl Azy in the chat wants to know, what if the Packers run Josh Jacobs more because it's a playoff game? He says, points out that back in 2022, Jacobs had a 303-yard game against the Seahawks, and he says LaFleur has been saving Jacobs for a reason, to keep him healthy for the postseason. I don't feel like we've been saving him that much. I feel like he's been a workhorse, and I appreciate the workhorseness, but I also don't think he's like beaten down. He seems like he's got plenty of tread left on his tires for the season. I think you could run him as much as you want to in this game. It's just going to be a matter of, can you establish the run? Can you get things going in the pass game so that you can afford to keep running? I would love to see a monster game from Jacobs against the Eagles for sure.
Was it really 303?
It was, yeah. This was
303? Isn't that the record?
Late November 22.
Late
November 26, 27, something like that.
Okay.
See, it was all-purpose yards.
Oh, all-purpose.
It was a Raiders record, not a league record.
I was gonna say,
so he had 303 all-purpose yards,
that's
229 rushing yards.
Yeah, okay.
Still,
that's why. That's
game.
Scrimmage yards. Okay. I was like, I feel like I would remember more if he had a 300-yard rushing game. But yeah, he caught 6 for 74 in that game. That's sick.
Jake, do you like my tagline here?
Carl Brooks, no matter what. Yes.
Yeah.
With no matter what capitalized.
I'm cooler than you because I capitalize no matter what.
I like it. I like that. What if Jacobs were to run the ball more? The one thing Green Bay has been doing well, before we finish up I don't know if we're doing offensive line and then probably calling it.
Yeah.
The Packers have been using enough motion to get teams thinking about more stuff going on. That's going to be a challenge for Philly to make sure that they're accounting for everything with Reed's motions and other motions that happen pre-snap. The spinner stuff that they have implemented with Love, right? All of that has to be accounted for with Philly's defense. Now, it's become structurally more sound. You can maybe attribute some of it to Fangio. I think a lot of it should go to the players as well. Bond, Dean, DeGene, especially when in terms of the run fits and all that. But I do think, like, as much as, like, you know, we talked about the defense, and I think they should be talking more about the defense and how it's played. I do think, like, outside of Carter, I'm not that scared of the front, to be honest. I think they have solid players on that front besides Carter, but I'm not truly, you know, oh my gosh, what are we going to do type of thing, right? Like, Carter's going to probably have a couple reps where he destroys Myers or Ryan, or, you know, like, it's probably going to happen. But if they can run the ball effectively, that's going to, again, you're going to have everybody thinking about all the run fits. You're going to have to talk about that type of execution, and then, you know, you can get into, I think, more of what you'd like to do play action wise. But I think a lot of it, again, I think I said, I don't remember which game I said this before, but man, if I think LaFleur's approach of, like, taking the ball, 100%. I want Jalen Hurts off of a concussion, off of a few weeks off, in a position where they're chasing immediately. Like, no question about it. I want them to chase. If they have a lead and they can unleash Barkley with that offensive line, yikes. Make them chase if you want to win this game.
We got a new guy in the chat here, Anton Miller. If you could do it over, do you give Detroit back their picks in Reed and Wicks for Brian Branch? I don't off the top of my head remember if Wicks was one of the guys.
I think Wicks and Brooks were a part of that double trade back. I don't know. I don't remember which pick was in
Musgrave and Wick. Musgrave and Reed.
No, Musgrave was pick 42. They moved out of pick 45 to 48, and then they moved out of 48 to 50.
Okay.
The first one was with the Lions. I think the second one was with the Bucks. I don't remember which pick they got in the Detroit part of that trade.
I don't remember.
If it was Brooks's pick or if it was Wicks's, I don't remember which one. But can I cheat on this answer? I'm going to cheat.
Yeah, cheat.
Okay. If I could do it all over again, I would just take Branch and not take Van Ness personally. And just kind of leave it at that. Call it a day.
Interesting.
Or just don't take Musgrave and take Branch. Also
I still feel like it's kind of too early to second guess everything. I still need a little more time to see. I still just don't love Brian Branch the way that you do.
That's fine.
He's fine. He's a lot better at safety than he is as a nickel for sure. They need to quit. They need to quit putting themselves in a situation where he needs to play cornerback.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. He needs to play safety full time.
Yeah.
So part of what's factoring into this for me though is Evan Williams and Javon Bullard.
Sure.
You know, I just, as I'm sitting here today, I just don't feel like safety is this glaring need. You know, and I don't like what he does at corner. So that for me is a big factor. Anton says trade up 7 picks, give Musgrave for Laporta. I wanted Laporta bad. All right, Laporta. Tucker Kraft I wanted bad. Dan Laporta I wanted bad. So I was hurting that we passed on Laporta, and then I didn't really want Musgrave, but also he's missed so much time that we just don't really know what we have in him yet. Still, so is it trending the right way? No, but.
It's interesting that we have kind of labeled him the Christian Watson of tight ends. It's funny that's kind of worked out that way, but that means, you know what that means, though? That means year 3, you see, like, maybe not as, like, oh, wow, he's done this, but, like, the subtle signs of, like, there's something that's pushing this engine forward. Right, like with Watson, we kind of mentioned like his ability to work through more contact while maintaining full speed in his stems and stuff has been a crucial part of it this year. I think if you kind of see the subtle signs next year for Musgrave,
okay,
that would be a big deal. So,
yeah.
But yes, I would. Yes, Laporta and Kincaid and Kraft were my top 3 that year, and I just wanted one of those 3 for sure.
Those are my top 3 as well. Now I like Brock Bowers too.
Oh yeah,
so
Bowers was.
I don't remember the exact ranking. I know for sure those were the top 4. I know that for sure.
Well, Bowers was the class after, but yeah, I get what you're.
That's right. Who was the Raiders tight end?
Oh, Mayer was the other one.
Mayer. I was lower on Mayer. I liked Mayer. I think he was either 3rd or 4th out of the 4.
Okay.
I know Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft was not my number 1 or number 2. He was either number 3 or number 4, and Mayer was the other one.
Yeah, I firmly planted that Tucker Kraft was 3, so he's not. I didn't have him ahead of Kincaid Laporta, but I there was just something about Kraft that just was like very gravitational, just how he played. That was and like also I think the other thing is you can also there. Some people would rather like, and I understand this, to say Laporta, Kincaid are even just F tight ends. Like they can, like Laporta can kind of help you, right? Been to Iowa, knows the technique and stuff, but he's going to help you way more as a receiver, right? The Kraft players are your Ys, your inlines. Like this is your combo tight ends. So like you could even say like Kraft is combo tight end 1 right now in the class, because the other 2 really don't do it as muit. Sure. Laporta does it a little bit more, obviously, and Kincaid really didn't. Kind of had a tough second year, but again, it was a good class, and I think we're gonna be talking about tight ends again the same way. That was like we talked. There was like a clear top 6, and then it's Bowers. Like there's a revolution going on because this draft is going to be a lot of that discussions with Warren, with Loveland, with Fannin, with Mason Taylor, with Gunnar Helm. There'll be a lot of conversations about that position. Not even necessarily from Green Bay's perspective, but just in general. So
I don't know how to pronounce this name, and it's probably a troll account anyways.
Whoa.
But how did Green Bay manage to be 1-5 in division games? You missed that discussion we talked about earlier.
We
The
did
answer
talk
is
about this.
They sucked in all 6 of the division games. They deserved to go 0-6 in the division.
They really
So,
did. It is truly crazy.
I'm not going to defend the way they played against the Lions, Vikings, and Bears. They deserve to get their butts whipped.
Here's
we
an
expect
interesting.
better from them.
Here's an interesting question. Which game do you think was the best they played of those 6 division games? That's interesting.
They were all.
I think I know my answer, but I'm interested to see what you think.
I mean, maybe
Yeah,
I think you're going to say it's the first Vikings game.
I'm not actually going to say that.
Of those 6 games, I will probably actually go ahead and pick the one that they did win, even though it was still a crappy performance. But of the 6, I think it was the least crappy.
Yeah, I'm flipping back between that one and the second Lions game because I feel like they flipped the switch in that game faster than the other 3 against the Lions Vikings. And so they probably took I think they took a better command of what was going on there. But
Tool for this.
I think the first Bears
on
one,
this
obviously.
channel, we don't cry about the refs in games where the Packers are playing like crap. You can only be upset about the refs if the Packers play excellent.
Yeah,
and still get shafted about it.
Yeah, if they played a phenomenal first half, right? I think then it was become like, okay, yeah, then that's tough. Didn't get some calls, but like they made their bed in the first half of that game. They could have, they start out hotter. They might have won that game running away the way they attacked the second half. So it is what it is. Time to go find some dogs, some alphas in this draft.
So Jake, we are 15 minutes over time. I say let's skip the offensive line thing for today, even though I did come up with my 3 centers, 3 tackles, and 3 guards, because there's a different topic I want to hit on before we close out. And I think when I remind you of what it is, you'll agree that it's
I think I know what it is.
Tell me what you think it is.
The playoff.
Of course it's the playoffs.
Obviously.
Playoffs.
Got to.
3 of the 4 teams left in the college football playoffs are from the North.
Yep.
Shout out to Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, and also shout out to Oregon. All right, you're in the North too, even though
that was
you
tough,
were on the wrong side of the bracket.
Yeah, that was tough.
Sorry that you had to run into the supernova.
The fact that Oregon's not playing Boise State or Arizona State the second round is comical, man. That is really comical. I can't believe it.
Shout out to all the northern teams who made the playoffs.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Yes.
Shout out to all the northern teams that won a playoff game.
Yep. Yeah, I had 3 of the 4 semifinals correct. I did not get Ohio State correct. I did have the other 3. I think it just didn't feel like Georgia was in the right spot to win. Oh,
you mean the
games.
spot of being a good team? Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Texas. I don't know. Truly, like this is on Texas. For one, like you need to beat them in the title game.
100%.
Guys, you have to beat them. You are a better team 100%. Than them. You just have like Dodo Bird at head coach who does end of game stuff as like I don't know what he's doing half the time. In some of the end game scenarios, like Texas should be crushing Georgia in those matchups. Truly, they're a much better team. I hope they show up and make a good playoff game. I
hope they Friday. Do too, but also how fun would an Ohio State, Notre Dame, all North natty be? Come on.
Yeah, I would rather be Penn State, to be honest. I don't find myself ever rooting for Notre Dame. Like ever, I don't think. But
okay, but Notre Dame. But I know that they're.
But I do respect.
Who would you rather see in the Natty, Texas or Notre Dame?
Would I rather see?
Yeah, I know they're on opposite sides of the bracket, so it's not actually.
You're making me choose between watching Makuba, Barron, and Alfred Collins play, and my guy Matthew Golden, by the way. Versus, man, watching Xavier Watts play for Notre Dame and Jeremiah Love, that's a tough call. for the northern bit, obviously Notre Dame. But for me, can I get Arch to start? Then
No,
it's not
because
close.
Here's why. Here's why.
Darn it.
Because Texas is playing in Ohio State here, and therefore Quinn Ewers, because the football gods and fate decree it, Quinn Ewers is going to be your starting QB for the whole playoffs here. Because it is destiny for Quinn Ewers to defeat Ohio State.
I don't think
That's
it
just
is.
destiny. That's
I
football
don't
destiny.
think so. You think they're going to win?
I'm not saying I think they're going to win. I'm just.
But you think it's like that's
destiny does not always happen.
sure.
But destiny is Quinn Ewers
Setting
defeats
up.
Ohio State.
I don't want that personally. I kind of wish Friday was the title game. That was the matchup
Sure.
because I feel
Sure.
like that's I really like the matchup
The bracket.
because
The seeding
because
in the
then
bracket
JJ
stinks.
yes because then JJ we would get North versus South for the title.
Yeah.
And you get to further establish dominance in the title game rather than like kind of partying with the boys in the title game per se, right? Like it's actual
Sure.
battle.
Sure.
Where it's like the Big Ten will feel like they've already won if it's Ohio State, Penn State, right? Like they'll think we've already won. This is great. Like it'll be a
More or
good
less.
game.
I mean,
but like it's
technically
a
Notre Dame is not
feeling
in
like
the
of winning,
Big
right?
Ten, but yeah. Sure.
Because they've already done it, right? Michigan beats Bama, USC beats Texas A&M, Illinois, heck yes, beats South Carolina. What a game! And just to be able to do it on like the final step of the playoff, I think would be just kind of an extra one. It would be
There's only like
really
four
sick, but
Northern teams total that have lost to Southern teams, and one of them is Bowling Green, and another one
Yeah,
is
that was
Iowa.
tough.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I forget who the other two are, but they're quasi-Northern at best.
Pitt. Wait, no, they didn't
Pitt.
lose Southern team. Pitt
That's
didn't
right,
lose
because
Southern
that's
team.
to Toledo.
They lost to Toledo in 6 overtimes. That was crazy. Who else? No, Syracuse got the W. That was sick.
I have it. It was West Virginia and Western Michigan. Those are the other two.
Okay.
And who cares about West Virginia or Western Michigan?
Yeah.
Or, sorry, Bowling Green, but who cares about Bowling Green?
Yeah. Shout out to Boise for making the playoff.
If Texas beats Ohio State, they will be the only Southern team to actually beat a real Northern team besides Iowa losing.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Which, again, I don't know, man. Beating Iowa this year for Missouri, I don't know. Is that
Beating
really?
beating
Should we
Iowa
be bragging
many
about that
years.
if you were the SEC? I don't think I'm bragging about that game.
You're going to
per
take
se.
even that from the SEC? You're not
Yeah,
going
I
to
am.
give them anything?
I am. Yeah, I am. Iowa was not as good as they usually are this year. It's just facts. They did. Did you see Iowa? You see who they got in the portal?
I don't recall who they got. I saw people in the chat talking about
They
it.
got Mark Gronowski from South Dakota State, who was thrown for like 10,000 yards at
A
South
northern
Dakota
lad.
State.
A northern
I-
lad staying in the north. That's it.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
What the amount of this is? You got people yelling it's a trap in the comments about this transfer. That is going to be a heck of a storyline next year when we do our northern team rankings of like, all right, is Gronowski going to elevate Iowa? Find out at 11. Like I can't wait. I can't wait for that. But you know, it's exciting. It's exciting.
I appreciate the way that the North stepped up this year. I think, Jake, that you and I picked a fantastic year to start a Northern College football
so.
segment on our trifecta podcast of Packers, draft, and Northern College football.
Yep.
And for me, it's not a bit. I really do hate the South.
That's true. That's true.
More so, and this is just consistent for me, I hate the media. And the media is
fair.
always
That's
glazing
fair.
on the South. So
That's fair.
until the media stop it, I'm gonna hate the South. Once they give up the ridiculous narrative that the SEC is so much better,
Yep.
I'm gonna have to hate the South.
Oh, big shout outs to Northern Team Iowa State for claiming the best trophy in sports. The Toaster Trophy. Very sick, by the way.
Is this not the best bowl at this point?
Oh yeah, it is. I will say again, I will credit the Mayo Bowl for doing their best. That's some truly
they give
insane
it a
stuff.
good try. They give it a good try.
They're doing insane stuff, but the Pop Tarts Bowl is king. It is the best bowl. Yes, it does. That's why too old for this. It is the best trophy in sports. Yes, there will be somebody in 13 days? Yeah. 13 days lifting the natty, and it's not a better trophy. It isn't. It's not a cool trophy compared to a toaster one.
Jake, memes aside and the Pop-Tart Bowl aside, do you agree with me and Joel Clapp that the Rose Bowl should be the national championship game? Like, we have the Super Bowl in the NFL, the Rose Bowl in college. Do you agree with that or no?
I like it. I like it. The thought of it. I think it obviously opens the door for the Pop-Tarts to be a quarterfinal, which is kind of sick. I kind of like that idea. I would prefer if they're going to do it.
The Fiesta Bowl? It's the worst of the New Year's Six Bowls. Can we demote the Fiesta Bowl?
No, I think you just send the 4 seed there. 4-5.
I want to demote it and replace it with the Pop-Tart Bowl in the Mayo.
I see it. So if we're demoting that one and replacing it, if we move the Rose Bowl, there's still a spot open then. Unless you're playing two at the Rose Bowl.
Give me the Outback Bowl over the Fiesta Bowl. I just hate the Fiesta Bowl so much. Sugar Bowl, elite. Cotton Bowl, elite. Citrus Bowl, it's great. Rose Bowl, perfection.
Citrus could work.
Fiesta Bowl is like nails on the chalkboard.
I get it, but also I dig the location of the Fiesta Bowl. I think that's a fun trip to play there. As to what you're saying about the Rose Bowl being the permanent national title game, yes, I understand that. I would prefer it rotate like the Super Bowl, just because it's kind of like, I think it's cool that there are going to be some times in the playoff where, it wouldn't be the national title and you still get the roses and you're like, this is a big game we won, whether it be a semifinal or not. I would prefer you rotate it. I'm not mad at the idea of having the rotation be bowl games for the national title. I don't mind that at all. Because it's kind of unfortunate that the national title isn't really one of those anymore. But I think you could go to the Rose Bowl more often if you wanted to than some of the others in the rotation.
If you just rotated the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, and the Rose Bowl, would that be enough?
Maybe. So it's just New Orleans, Dallas.
The Citrus Bowl would be fun to have in there, I guess.
Yeah, I think the Citrus would be kind of sick. Played in Tampa.
Oh,
no, that's Orlando.
No.
Shoot.
Yeah. Isn't the Citrus Bowl at Hard Rock? Or is that the Orange Bowl?
The Orange Bowl's at Hard Rock. The Citrus
Orange Bowl is what I'm thinking.
Sorry, what is the Outback in Tampa then, or the Rely Quest, whatever the heck it's called now? That must be the one that's in Tampa.
That's in Tampa.
Yeah. I mean, Tampa's a good location for it. I think if you want to play the national title there, it would be hard to do in Orlando.
What we really need is for Derailed to really take off and start making us some real money, so that we can go. The
Derailed Bowl.
No.
So Snoop Dogg did the Arizona Bowl.
We need to go to a bowl game together, sponsored by our podcast.
Sponsored, yeah. Pop-Tarts. There's no other debate. It's got to be the Pop-Tarts.
Would you rather go to the Rose Bowl or the Pop-Tart Bowl?
Well, that's a different question. We got to take steps, We gotta take steps first, right? We're gonna be going to
baby steps. So we start with the Rose Bowl and work our way up to the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Rose Bowl, Mayo, Detroit. You got to go there, and then you got to make the rounds. The Pinstripe. You got to go to the Fenway Bowl. You got to go through some hard times. You got to go through some slick, nasty elements up in the Northeast to get to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the final destination.
Jake, I have a solution. This is the last thing
Okay.
before we close. I have a
Okay.
solution. Since you like the location of the Fiesta Bowl so much, just rename it to the Toilet Bowl and keep it in the rotation.
What if we renamed it the Cactus Bowl?
We just would have to also just get rid of the bowl leadership that actually like throws that bowl. I just hate the production of the Fiesta Bowl every year.
I mean, yeah, it's not a like, oh, this is super name or anything like that. I just like that there's one that they're playing in Glendale and it's a big
Sure.
one. Yeah, if there's a way
If
to
we could
just
have
kind
one
of
Fiesta Bowl that didn't have like just absolutely horrifically embarrassing officiating, that would be helpful.
well, that's another question. Yeah, that's another question that we should be asking ourselves. There's no doubt about that.
Well, it's happened again. You wasted another perfectly good hour listening to us
Two.
here on Derailed.
Two of them things.
2 hours. Yeah. Well, we made up for last week taking off.
Yeah. JJ's got the Packers this week. I have the Eagles. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We hope we're back here next week talking about Green Bay at Detroit. That we hope. That's what we're hoping for.
Either way, we'll be here next week talking
We
about
will,
at least
either way.
one northern team representing
Yes. Two.
in the college football national championship game.
Texas Notre Dame would put me in a kind of a bind for this
Texas
bit.
Notre Dame would be.
That would put me in kind of a bind for this bit. I don't think I can be part of the bit. I'll be honest. I can't root for Notre Dame, man. I can't do it. Can't do that. That is against all of my principles. There are too many Bears fans that are also Notre Dame fans. I just can't get on board. Will not get on board.
Yeah.
That's my issue. That's my issue.
I think
just give me Penn State. Just give me Penn State, please.
I would really
Begging.
have a conflict of interest there because pro North and pro Big Ten, but also it's Penn State. That would be hard for me.
Yeah,
I don't hate Penn State, but it
See,
would be
this is-
painful as an Ohio State fan to watch Penn State win it this year.
Penn State. Like, we got to talk about if Penn State wins, right? We got to talk about Penn State's road to the national title. This is truly nuts. They play SMU.
It's easily the easiest path. in
SMU,
playoffs.
Boise State, a Notre Dame team that never wins big games, and you're in it. And then you're done, and you're at the title game. This is crazy.
So because Notre Dame beat Georgia last week, does that mean that Georgia was not a big game because they won?
No, but I think it's just not enough of a sample size to give me like true.
Well, here's the other thing: James Franklin doesn't win big games either. So
Right, exactly. This is
So
the
you
problem.
got
This was the matchup I wanted because
unstoppable force, immovable.
I
object.
wanted, yeah, the stoppable force and the movable object. They're playing each other right now. Somebody's gonna win somehow. Someone's gonna win. Notre Dame's gonna win because, yeah, that's
They
gonna
gotta
be
fix
interesting.
the way the bracket
That's
is set up.
yeah, they
next year.
really do. They. I'm glad that they've already there's the reporting already about the conversations because that was so clear. But
They
like
clearly just thought that Georgia was gonna sweep.
thought-
and so
yeah,
they
they
set
thought
up a
they were
nice,
gonna-
cushy, easy path for Georgia to make
not
it.
realizing that they put Tennessee, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon. Not really Tennessee. Texas, Oregon,
No,
Ohio
Tennessee
State.
stinks. Tennessee did not
Texas,
deserve to be.
yeah, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State in the same half bracket.
They did that.
I don't know how they did that.
for sure.
But
I'm
then
telling
again,
you,
that's
it's-
kind of
it's pro
unfortunately,
Georgia.
unfortunately,
Pro
it's-
Georgia.
it is, but it's unfortunately Texas' fault. Just win the game. Just beat Georgia, and you're the two.
True.
And then we wouldn't have this problem, but we do now. Arizona State, Georgia would have been something. Let me tell you, that would have been something.
I knew I should have gotten you on this topic an hour
Yeah,
ago.
you
You got to let me
yeah.
go to bed, Jake.
Yeah, I do. But again, this is, as I said, this is what I was hoping for. Right, Penn State, Notre Dame. Somebody has to win. That's some crazy stuff, and that's where we should end it. Somebody has to win that.
In the words of the late, great Mr. Ed Policy, go Pack, go.